As you watch this module, consider the following questions. How do we define systems thinking? How does a systems thinking approach influence our perspective on food systems and sustainability? What is the food system as a system?
The food system as a system is when we look at the different components of what produces and consumes and disposes of food, recognizing the different component, that is the production, the consumption, the transportation, the policies that are being made, the incentives, the voting that happens in a democratic system that makes it that you want to have GMO label versus not on your food. Recognizing them, but not getting into the weeds, and instead focusing on how they interrelate. So what does that mean? It means that when I'm realizing that my choices as a consumer could be driving what a farmer wants to grow, but then also in the next time step, that's also going to affect what I have as available for food to consume. And so that feedback between, so one component affected the other one, but then that other one came back and affected the other. So these interrelationships are what make the system a system. And recognizing that these relationships are not static is also super important. So looking at how things change over time. And what is the kind of relationship? Is it one where an increase in one aspect keeps causing an increase in another aspect, and they keep increasing together until something is out of control, like climate change, for instance? Or is it a system that self-regulates, that something increases but then causes something else to decrease and it self-regulates, such as supply and demand, for instance, that where one regulates the other? And so basically when we think about systems, it's thinking about the components, thinking about how they are related, thinking about how, if we want to influence the system, maybe because we care about a certain objective, recognizing that there might be unintended consequences because of that domino effect that happens when one has a cause and effect on the other.
Let's take a closer look at the system of a food system. The food system is a complex system. What that means for us is that it isn't linear, but rather different components of the system are interconnected. And when you introduce ideas or changes that impact one area of the system, those changes impact other parts of the system. So when learning about the food system, we need to know all of the components, how they're related, and the ways in which changes positively or negatively impact the people that produce, transport, sell, or even consume our food.
There is something about our personalities that make us either like the detail or like the big picture. Okay. So I think there must be some consumers who, because of their psychology or personality, they do see interrelations. And I'm pretty sure there are others that are so focused on one aspect. And so consumers could be very environmentally oriented and they're seeing just this one aspect. And I do see that in our courses when our students who come and they have this, almost militant objective, and, they want to, they're so passionate about saving the world in one aspect of things, and they're almost disappointed that comes at the trade-off of this other objective that they realize they also care about. And so it's a little bit disappointing to recognize these trade-offs and realize that I cannot get it all, I cannot have it all. If I have this one objective, I'm giving up on another objective and yet another objective. And so I think the average, if you're asking about the average, my answer would be no, if we want to look on average. And this is a barrier.
Yeah.
Because as a society, we care about sustainability in all of its dimensions. But as individuals, we are mostly driven by maybe one or two dimensions of that sustainability. So how do you get the sum of the individuals as they interact to reach an objective that has that is so multi-pronged, yet the individual many times is focusing on one or two aspects? So that's part of the complexity of the problem, and that's why there's no simple solution to problems in food systems or in systems that are so complex in general.
We need to think about each component of the food system on an individual level, but then be able to zoom out and see how each component works together.
At that time, it was also when issues of sustainability and complex systems were becoming common lenses through which we can see food production and consumption and pollution and climate change, etc. Then it all came together. That trade-off between being specialized and being systems thinker, so seeing the trees and seeing the forest at the same time, this is when I realized that this is sustainability and food systems could be the umbrella that can bridge the specialization and the systems thinking at the same time.
Systems thinking considers how things are complex and interrelated, and that there is no clear right answer, but that we seek to be less wrong, and that we have multiple people from different vantage points exploring issues in the system. As a learner, we challenge you to consider, what do you individually care the most about, and what are you willing to think about in concert? When it comes to our food system, in what ways are you willing to see that you can't have it all?